let's talk about comics then. Justice League issue 45. We have Robert Venditti writing, of course, with Eddie Barrows on the art, and much like the last issue, a lot of double page spreads, a lot of nice big art to look at.
Like how
Barrows is good.
Yeah,
but he's not.
Barrows
He's
did,
not semantic.
No. But Barrows did the Freedom Fighters with Venditti, so you can tell they have a pretty good working relationship. Does group stuff real well.
Plus, honestly, kind of like him more than Manipul, but whatever.
You have opinions?
Weird.
Well, it's the way Cara dismissed it as if no one would ever think that. I'm like, no, actually, I kind of prefer.
I didn't say Manipul. I said Zamanico. He's comparing it to last issue.
Oh, they said Manipul. To be fair,
you just threw out Manipul.
But Manipul had the cover last time we talked about this.
Well, yeah, he has it this time as well.
Yeah.
I looks like Manipul anyway.
Yeah, it looks like Manipul.
I haven't checked, but
sure it's not Germanico? This is now a new Starfire thing.
No, I really like Zermanico. I love Zermanico's art. I actually would agree that Zermanico's better than Eddie Barrows. I concur with that statement.
Not enough monsters in this one. Way too much Justice League fighting.
Sure.
That's my quick take.
I'm going to tell you what knocks this issue down a full point and a half immediately. Yeah. It is the repeated, and to the same with the format of the paneling of Justice League member being beaten by another Justice League member, snapping out of the rage for a moment, and then go, the Spectre is right, and like 3 times.
Yes, so to explain what's going on here, they're fighting. The cliffhanger at last issue is that they've all been infected by the influence of the Spectre, and they're all like airing their grievances and fighting each other, and they're kind of snapping out of it here or there, and like you say, it kind of repetitiously goes through. So there's basically 3 pairs, because there's 6 of them here, and we have 3 pairs of fighting, and each one ends with the same thing, where one of them kind of snaps out for a second, and then doubts is like, I shouldn't be doing this, and goes, no, Spectre was right. But there's a tease at the start that basically the idea here is that, unless I'm wrong here, but the way I read this is that Jim Corrigan intentionally pissed off the Amazons so they would trap him. And
and so far, here's my first thing with Venditti here, and I don't know if this is on purpose, so I'm going to withhold like counting it against it. But the Amazons are never that vehemently anti-men, right? Like, if someone showed up on their island, they're not like, death to the man, They're just kind of like, how'd he get here? And so that didn't seem to ring true.
In like 9 out of 10 Origins of Wonder Woman that I've read, they're kind of exactly like that with Steve Trevor, until Diana's like, no, don't do that. So, I don't know, it didn't seem that weird.
I don't know. Just in the most modern retellings, they're kind of more passive. Like, they were pushed here because, and they're more, like, I'm not counting Azarillos where they go out and get impregnated and then kill them, and they come back to the island. Not like that. But yeah, just that didn't seem to ring true. It just seemed off, but maybe that's part of it with Corrigan. But I don't know. The last time the Spectre became unbound to a human, we had big, huge events around it. They had Judgment, they had Vengeance, and now this is just in a short arc of Justice League. Yeah, so kind of nerfing the Spectre here, easy bit.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think the way I'm interpreting is the Spectre is still trapped in Tartarus with Corrigan. Yeah. He is not unbound like those previous events. This is more, he is using an outlet through this entrance to Tartarus in the Arctic or Antarctica as we are. So it's not quite as extreme as in those previous examples.
Well, sure, but I feel like Corrigan's endgame is he's done being the Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah,
it's a great story in itself.
I mean, that's there's nothing wrong with that idea. And they try and like make the Spectre talk with the lasso, and obviously doesn't really go very well, and there's lots of blasting and all that, whatnot. Ultimately, they go to Themyscira because they realize kind of that they have to go there for answers, and Diana takes them there. And I think also because she mentions that she's brought them through the barrier that why most people can't find it. And that's the thing. It wasn't that long ago that she couldn't find it. She was barred from it. And obviously we had the big story in Wonder Woman that kind of led her back there for the first time. So this is one of these things where, so technically, okay, she can go back there now. They established that in Wonder Woman relatively recently in Wilson's run. Okay, fine. But it's this thing where they're all going there for the first time, and it's like, oh yeah, so this is the first time I've brought other people, and this is the first time the Justice League have been there. But I feel like I've seen so many stories where it's the first time some of the Justice League members go to Themyscira that I couldn't help but feel like, yeah, I've been here and done this.
Do you know what? That's not even my problem, because I'm willing to go, oh, this is the first time in this continuity. I'm willing to accept that. I just don't think it has the weight that it should for that moment.
No.
No, it's just kind of whatever. This kind of goes back to, like, I think last time was elevated by the art. The art here's still pretty good, but ultimately it's kind of a B story, just doing B story things.
Yeah.
I think Barrow's doing a great Batman.
Yeah,
I agree. No, I agree with that.
Especially in that Antarctic suit.
Well, Barrows did some detective issues with Tynan, so that's not a surprise.
Yeah. No, that's true. But I think I don't know. I think it's the coat with the collar here that I'm really digging.
That's cool.
I think it's the one thing he draws better than the Zimanico. As a
and the action sequences, despite being repetitive, looks good still.
Oh, they all look great. Those big 2-page splash pages look fantastic. But it's even more kind of feels like we're going through the motions of. Because how many times have we seen the heroes fight each other? How many times have we seen these types of things?
I think it's so formulaic, with it literally being pair fights. One snaps out of it for a second, says the Spectre is right, onto the next pair. Yeah,
they could have done something more with it, where, like, as one starting to come out of it, like another, like, because they're paired off into like these sets of two. Like, you could have done something where they start to sort of like intertwine, and like there's like vengeances and like little like issues they have with each other, kind of. Yeah, it could have played a real interesting game of like how it all sort of dominoed from each one to the other, but instead it was this very just strict, like, two people fighting, that's it. Two people fighting, that's it. Two people fighting, that's it. The only interesting moment might be at the end when they kind of snap out of it, even though they're still kind of fighting it down a little bit, but they're more aware of what's happening now. Superman tries to apologize to Batman, and Batman just kind of walks past him and goes, okay, let's deal with this. What's going on? Talk, Spectre. You foolish god.
Yeah.
So
Big G.
Big G.
As they call him.
Yeah, Big G.
I liked.
So the cliffhanger is that the Amazons jump out and are like, Diana, you've brought men. We're going to kill you all, basically.
That was big yikes. I had a point I was going to make, and then Connor kept going, and then I forgot it. So.
He does that at times.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's okay.
It happens to me as times as well.
I was running it back. Oh, no. It feels like the Justice League book is so bipolar in that it's either the backbone of whatever's going on in the greater DCU, or it's B stories like this. Like, there's never... I don't think anyone, save Morrison, has really made it feel like its own title.
Yeah, it's what's funny about it is that it really has been kind of bounding between those two extremes, because when you New 52 by Johns, it was the flagship book, it was the thing driving the universe.
Yeah.
And then we started Rebirth, and Rebirth obviously for the most part was a great phase, and we loved what it did, but the Justice League book, it was oddly just kind of there. It was just this weird book that didn't really have a purpose. And then they restarted it with Snyder, and it's like, okay, love it or hate it, regardless of your feelings, it was clearly still meant to be this new big sort of flagship driving book that was doing all these big things.
Fair to say, for good or bad, it absolutely was the driving force.
Yeah. Right. And now he's off it, and they're off to do Metal 2, Electric Boogaloo. We have this Vendetta stuff, and it just kind of feels like it's back to, it's just kind of a nothing book that exists because we have to have a Justice League book.
Well, and it did that even before the New 52, depending on who was on it. Because I remember for a minute, the Justice League was made up of Nightwing, Donna Troy, Congo Bill. Yeah, like
kind of
it was post. Yeah, like it was very, very just. Oh, we can't put in the big guns, so who can we put on the Justice League? And I think James Robinson during that was post Cry for Justice, and like it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like this is not a Justice League book.
Yeah, I'll say it again. I think it's okay for it to just go on a break for a while when there's nothing to do in it. It's also okay that it's not. Maybe Justice League doesn't even need to be ongoing. Maybe it can be something where it's just a big mini will happen when there's a good Justice League story to tell.
Yeah,
the
Hellboy model
from there. But I also think it's okay for the book to just be these B stories and kind of having.
Well, if that's the case, then let's have a while where they're fun B stories and they don't feel forgettable. Because at least this is fun. Well, you know what I mean? Like,
I think the issue we're talking about here, though, is that this is of that quality, which is fine if that's the story it was doing, but the actual story it's doing feels like it should be much bigger and should... It feels like it's short-changing moments that should feel like a bigger deal.
Well, in this particular issue, I agree. I think the previous issue nailed the feeling that it was going for. The previous arc, Vendi's first arc on this book, I think, was exactly the type of fun B-level story I would like in an ongoing Justice League book.
And well, even if he had more time, because we all know this is just in a holding pattern right now until Metal 2, whenever happens post that.
Well, even then, like it's in a holding pattern through Metal 2, because I don't think this is going to be doing anything important during that, right? Unless they announce something.
We've got this arc from Venditti finishing, then we have the Spurrier 6-issue arc,
right?
And I think we've got Loveness for a 2 or 3 part.
Which at that point it'll be pretty much the end of Metal, give or take.
So,
well, it's not. It's double shipping, but
it's double shipping.
But it'll be like halfway through Metal at that point.
Yeah. Right, and who knows what happens after that? But if like I feel like if they had just given Venditti a run and told him have fun, I think it would maintain. But I think him trying to squeeze a Spectre story into like 4 issues.
I think it's worth knowing that I think Venditti was offered a run and been told to have fun, because he kind of made a statement saying no, he stepped away because he had a new book, and with this being double shipping, he couldn't fit it into his schedule. So I think they did offer him that, and he chose to do whatever other project that has yet to be announced.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. If it's worth mentioning, we didn't mention it in the news, but Tom Taylor was teasing a new DC project on Twitter this week that is not related to Deceased. He pointed out.
Yes, did.
So
maybe we'll learn about that in the September solicits if he's teasing it already.
Hopefully.
I'm trying to figure out what that dude's end game is, because it's always
we had Deceased, and technically Deceased and a half, I'll say, last week. We get Suicide Squad this week. I'm just saying, we're actually in a pretty nice stream of Tom Taylor now.
It's true, and we're presumably going to have half a Deceased next week.
Yes, with the digital one, yeah.
I will say that he is definitely, like, I had always joked that he's a patron saint of our show. He has definitely stepped into that role with each of his books, just every time nailing it. So maybe that's
we'll get there, Matt, don't worry.
Foresight,
I mean, this issue just was fine. It feels like it's underselling some big things, where it feels like it's rushing the Spectre stuff, and it feels like the Themyscira stuff just feels like a nothing moment. It should be a bigger deal. So, that's what it is. Matt, what you rating it?
I'm gonna give it a solid 7.
Connor,
I feel that's a bit generous, personally. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Yeah, that's my thing now.
It's true.
I think I lean more towards Connor here.
Wait and see how much we lined up on the last episode of previously.
Yeah, too much. I will agree with the 6 out of 10. I mean, it's an enjoyable enough read. The art's pretty solid. May not be as good as last issue, but like those big 2-page spreads do look good. So if nothing else, the eyes are treated to a decent little series of sequences.